The approaching off-season gives us all regular golfers a chance to take stock, review what's in our golf bags and see whether there are some changes to be made prior to the start of next season. With some great deals to be had over the winter months as the manufacturers clear their stock to make way for new model launches at the start of next year, we're going to kick off the process by analysing the golf bags of the best players in the PGA Tour to see what the most popular 14 clubs are. So let's see what golf set we would end up with based on our in-depth look at the clubs that some of the best golfers in the world are using. The most popular 14 clubs the top 100 PGA Tour pros use start with driver, 3-wood and 5-wood, with 33 choosing these woods. The most common iron setup, used by 42%, begins with a 4-iron to a pitching wedge that matches the iron set. 3 specialist wedges, a 50-degree gap, 56-degree sand and 60-degree lob wedge are finally added to the putter. The best players in the world, however, clearly don't all use this setup, and many use a number of different variations of higher number fairway woods, such as a 7-wood, utility irons and hybrids. Others, particularly the younger generation, prefer to carry 4 specialist wedges, including a specialist pitching wedge, instead of a pitching wedge that matches their iron set. And indeed, some of the players will change the makeup of their set on a regular basis, depending on the particular course they are playing that week. It is interesting, however, that the most common setup of the best players on tour will feel familiar to millions of amateurs across the world, despite all of the options that are available to pros today. But while the most common golf club setup for the top pros is one thing, we wanted also to find out what the best golfers in the PGA Tour consider to be the best individual golf clubs, including lofts, shafts and grips. And not only that, we also wanted to see what had changed since the last time we carried out this in-depth analysis 2 years ago. Starting with the longest club in the bag, Titleist TSR3 driver is the most used by the top 100 PGA Tour pros, with TaylorMade Stealth Plus the most popular 3-wood and 5-wood. Titleist T100 irons are the most played, with 20 playing them, while Titleist Vokey Design SM9 is the most used gap, sand and lob wedge. TaylorMade Spider X is the most popular putter. If you went to your local golf shop and picked up this set of clubs, you're clearly not automatically going to play like a top PGA Tour pro. But for all the club choice options that are available to the best players in the world, it is interesting to see how close this set probably is to the majority of amateurs across the world. Further, when we last did this research a couple of years ago, this same setup was found to be the most common among the top 100 tour pros. Saying that, however, our analysis also found that the top pros are constantly searching for little changes and tweaks in their golf set, which will save them a stroke or 3 across the course of a round or a tournament. Many pros will therefore change 1 or 2 of their clubs from week to week, depending on the type of course they find themselves playing, whether that be by adding in an extra wedge at the expense of a fairway wood or utility iron, or adding in a hybrid in place of their longest iron. Briefly, before we get on to that though, please hit the like button if this video is being helpful to you thus far. Thanks for doing that. It really is an indicator to us that this video is the kind of content that's of value to our audience, so thank you. Now, taking a close look at Hideki Matsuyama's bag in the driving range at a PGA Tour event, for example, and you'll likely see 17 or even 18 clubs in his bag. And this means you'll sometimes find him swapping in a 20-degree Strixon ZX MK2 utility iron in place of his Cobra King Radspeed Tour 5-wood when the course setup demands it. This variation among the longer clubs in the bags is most common for many of the pros who do follow the standard setup we've already run through. For every pro that uses a 5-wood, you'll find close to a similar number who choose a higher numbered 7-wood, utility iron or hybrid in its place. Further, a number of the pros opt to carry more than 1 utility iron or hybrid, and then start their standard iron set with a 5-iron or sometimes even a 6-iron. The decision to play 4 specialist wedges instead of the standard 3 by replacing the pitching wedge, which comes with the rest of the iron set, is also increasing in popularity, particularly among the younger generation of pros on the tour. So, for the sake of completeness, here's a list of the most popular clubs among the alternative clubs which we found used by some of the top PGA Tour pros. When it comes to golf club brands, there are an ever-increasing number of options in the market today. As golf technology has developed at a rapid rate, and particularly since the turn of the century, an increasing number of specialist brands have entered the market, and sometimes specialised in areas of the game such as putter grips, previously considered not thought of as worthy of dedicated attention. The big golf brands, however, have maintained an almost vice-like grip over the golf market, and when it comes to the professional ranks and what they consider to be the best golf clubs, that grip is once again in evidence. And Titleist is the most dominant brand amongst the clubs used by the top PGA Tour pros. Their clubs are the most used across almost all categories of clubs: drivers, utility irons, hybrids and wedges. And in the hybrid and putter categories, they are the second most popular. Callaway and Ping are the next most popular brands. For many years, everyone has been well aware of Titleist's stranglehold over the golf ball market, but we must confess to being slightly surprised at the popularity of Titleist clubs amongst all club types used by the best pros in the PGA Tour. Titleist produces the most used golf clubs across all the main categories of golf clubs, with the exception of fairway woods and putters. But even in these categories, Titleist is the second most popular brand, with only one fewer player using its Scotty Cameron branded putters compared to Callaway's Odyssey models. Titleist dominance is evident, however, in every other club category, and especially when it comes to wedges, where their Vokey design clubs are chosen 3 times as frequently compared to the next most used popular wedges of Ping and Cleveland. This table highlights the most used brands amongst the top 100 PGA Tour pros, and as you can see, Titleist dominance is very clear, as it was when we looked at the club brands being used by this elite group a couple of years ago. We did, though, note 2 key points which have changed since then. Firstly, Srixon has become a more popular brand amongst the PGA Tour pros in that time, overtaking TaylorMade in terms of popularity and getting very close to the popularity levels of Callaway and Ping when we take into account all the club categories. And secondly, PXG has fallen away by comparison, with now none of the top 100 pros we looked at using any of their drivers, fairway woods, utility irons or irons, compared to a few who were using them 2 years ago. So that's it for this look at the most popular set of clubs among the top pros in the PGA Tour. As ever, and most importantly, we hope you're enjoying your golf, and if you like this video, tap in one of those boxes on the screen and we'll see you over in another one.